Ever get that feeling? Like, we're just scratching the surface with this whole innovation thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We see the new phone, the new app, whatever. But, like, what's the backstory? Where'd this all come from?
It's a really interesting question, actually, when you think about it. I mean, we think of innovation as this modern thing, but it goes way back.
Right.
So to really get a handle on it, maybe we should take a trip back in time.
Okay, I'm game. Where are we headed?
How about ancient Alexandria? Let's start there and, compare it to a modern innovation hub like Silicon Valley, see what we find.
Okay, Alexandria. First thing that comes to mind, the library. It was famous, right?
Totally. But Alexandria was more than just a library.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Picture a city buzzing with all these different cultures, Egyptians, Greeks, Persians, all these minds coming together.
Real melting pot.
Exactly. And the library, it was important, sure, but it was like one piece of this big, exciting puzzle.
I'm intrigued. Go on.
Think heated debates, scholars challenging each other, new discoveries happening all the time. It's about the energy, that spark you get when brilliant minds connect.
So it wasn't just about hoarding knowledge. They were actually
Yeah,
using it, building on it together.
exactly. It's like they understood that knowledge is a starting point, not the finish line. Take Eratosthenes, for example. This guy figured out the Earth was round.
Wait, seriously? Back then?
Yep. Not only that, he calculated the Earth's circumference.
Hold on, how do you even do that in ancient times?
It's actually pretty clever. He used geometry, compared the angle of the sun's rays at different spots, and from that, boom, figured out the Earth's curvature and size.
Oh, just wow. See, those aha moments, those breakthroughs, they're what get me fired up, even today. Speaking of which, we got to talk about Heron of Alexandria. I mean, we're talking ancient robots, steam power. This guy was the real deal. Right?
Oh, Heron was on another level. Those inventions of his, like the automatons he designed, powered by water and steam, they weren't just toys. They showed just how deeply they understood mechanics and physics back then.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like how innovation builds on what came before.
For sure.
But it wasn't just about individual geniuses in Alexandria, was it? It sounds like they had a system, something bigger going on.
You're right. The rulers, the Ptolemies, they knew knowledge meant power. They invested in it big time.
So they were like the original venture capitalists.
Kind of. They funded research, built places like the Mautian, a place specifically for scholars to study and work together. It all fed into their goal, maintaining their power and influence.
So it wasn't just for the love of knowledge, there was a strategy to it.
Definitely. They saw knowledge as a tool, a way to improve things. Engineering, navigation, even governing. It was a way to get ahead.
Okay, so we've got Alexandria, this ancient hub of knowledge and progress. It's a tough act to follow, right?
You said it.
But let's fast forward a bit. Silicon Valley. What pops into your head when you hear that?
Startups, tech giants, that whole move fast and break things mentality.
Right. It's like a completely different world.
It is, but there are some interesting parallels, too, when you dig a little deeper.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah.
So if the library and the Mautian were like the heart of Alexandria, what made Silicon Valley tick? What were the key ingredients?
Well, you got to start with a place that's attracting brilliant minds, right? And in Silicon Valley, that's Stanford University. Back in the mid-20th century, Stanford was already becoming a powerhouse in electronics research.
Ah, so the seeds were planted early on.
Exactly.
All right.
And it wasn't just the research itself, it was the energy, the ambition. Think about Hewlett-Packard, one of the giants, right?
Yeah.
Started in a Stanford dorm room. That tells you something.
It's like the cliche is true,
Mm.
but there's got to be more to it than just having a bunch of smart people in one place.
You're right. What really sets Silicon Valley apart is the whole ecosystem. You've got these top-notch universities, but then you've also got this entrepreneurial spirit in the air. And crucially, you've got money. Venture capitalists saw what was happening and they were willing to take a chance.
Ah, so it's about having the right people, the right ideas, and the right support to make those ideas a reality.
Exactly. Venture capitalists, they're not afraid to take risks, to bet on the unknown. And that creates this culture where failure isn't the end of the world. It's more like, okay, we learned something, now let's try again, but better.
Fail fast, fail often.
Yeah.
That's the Silicon Valley mantra, right?
Pretty much. It's about speed, agility, constantly adapting. Very different from the way things worked in Alexandria, with their focus on preserving and passing down existing knowledge.
It's like they took completely opposite approaches.
In a lot of ways they did. But both approaches have their strengths, and both have led to incredible advancements.
So on one hand, we've got Alexandria, this ancient world of scholarship and knowledge preservation, and then boom, Silicon Valley explodes onto the scene with this whole disrupt everything energy. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is two completely different eras, two completely different approaches to progress.
But both incredibly successful in their own ways. So what's the common thread? What connects these two innovation giants despite being worlds apart?
Well, one thing that stands out is the importance of infrastructure. And I'm not just talking about buildings or physical spaces. I'm talking about the whole ecosystem that allows innovation to flourish.
Okay, so like in Alexandria, we talked about the library and the Mousens. Those were key, right?
Absolutely. But it wasn't just those institutions, it was the whole system. They had ways to fund research, to attract the brightest minds from all over, to share knowledge and build on it. It was a collective effort.
So it's about creating an environment where those aha moments can happen and then having the resources to nurture those ideas to help them grow.
Exactly. And you see that in Silicon Valley too, but in a different form. Instead of grand libraries, you have venture capitalists, these individuals, these firms with the resources and the guts to invest in the unknown.
Because let's face it, investing in a brand new idea is a gamble. It's like, are you willing to bet on this thing that might just change the world?
And that's the thing about Silicon Valley. They thrive on that risk. They embrace it. That's what allows them to move fast and break things because they know that even if they fail, they'll learn from it and come back stronger.
It's like they see failure as part of the process, not the end of the road.
Exactly. And that's a stark contrast to the way things worked in Alexandria. They were all about preserving what was known, building on it carefully and methodically. Both approaches have their merits, for sure.
But there's another big difference, isn't there? I mean, we've touched on it, but it's the speed. The pace of innovation in these two worlds is completely different.
Absolutely. Think about it. In Alexandria, knowledge spread slowly, painstakingly copied and shared through handwritten scrolls. It could take years, decades even, for an idea to spread.
And today, an idea can go viral in a matter of hours thanks to the internet. It's incredible.
It really is. It's a double-edged sword, of course. That speed can be exhilarating, but it also makes it harder to slow down, to really think things through, to appreciate the value of deep, sustained focus.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What would the great thinkers of Alexandria, Eratosthenes, Heron, those guys, what would they have thought of a world where information travels at the speed of light?
It's a fascinating question. Would they have embraced that pace, that constant churn of new ideas? Or would they have held on to the value of slow, deliberate exploration, of careful observation and reflection?
It's like we're grappling with that same question today, aren't we? In a world that's constantly demanding more, faster, newer. How do we find that balance? How do we keep pushing the boundaries of innovation while also staying grounded, remembering where we came from?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And maybe there's no easy answer, but by looking back at these two incredible centers of innovation, by understanding how they approach progress, we can start to find our own way forward.
Because ultimately, that's what this all comes down to, isn't it? Finding that sweet spot between honoring the past and embracing the future. Alexandria reminds us of the power of knowledge, of deep thinking, of preserving the wisdom of those who came before us.
And Silicon Valley. It pushes us to be bold, to challenge assumptions, to never stop experimenting. It reminds us that progress often comes from unexpected places, from those who aren't afraid to take risks, to try something new, to break the mold.
So as we stand on the cusp of, well, who knows what, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, who knows what's next, it's comforting to know that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have these amazing examples from history to guide us, to inspire us, and maybe, just maybe, if we can learn from both Alexandria and Silicon Valley, if we can find that balance between tradition and disruption, well, who knows what incredible things we might accomplish.
I think that's a great place to leave it, with a sense of possibility, of excitement for what the future holds. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating journey.
Absolutely. And to everyone listening, keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and keep that curiosity alive. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the forces that shape our world. Until then, keep innovating.